Before we begin, I want to stop you right now. If you saw a headline today screaming that Congress just passed a brand new immigration law and you're panicking because you're a green card holder, wondering if your status is in danger, if you need to rush to file something, if you're about to lose your rights, or if everything you worked for is suddenly at risk, take a breath. Right now, across every social media platform, viral posts are spreading absolute chaos, claiming that green card holders must act immediately or face deportation, that new laws just got signed that will strip your permanent residence, that USCIS is about to revoke green cards without warning. People are terrified, families are confused, and almost all of it is either misleading, taken completely out of context, or flat out wrong. My name is Saqib, and you're watching Global Immigration Updates, the only channel that cuts through the panic and gives you the actual facts about what's really happening with US immigration law today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what Congress did or did not pass, what it actually means for green card holders, what has changed in enforceable law right now, and most importantly, what you actually need to do, if anything at all. So stay with me until the very end, because this is information that could save you from making a costly mistake based on fear and rumors. Let's start with the most important question. Did Congress actually pass a new immigration law that affects green card holders? The answer requires us to understand how the United States legislative process works, because immigration law does not change overnight, and a viral headline does not equal a new law. In the United States, for any bill to become law, it must pass both the House of Representatives and the Senate in identical form, and then it must be signed by the President. Until all three of those steps happen, nothing is law. Nothing is enforceable. Nothing changes your current immigration status. So when you see breaking news that says Congress passed something, the first thing you need to ask is, did it pass the House only? Did it pass the Senate only? Did both chambers pass the exact same version? And has the President signed it yet? Because very often, what's being reported as breaking news is actually just one chamber passing one version of one bill that still has a long road ahead before it could ever affect anyone. Now let's talk about what's actually been happening in Congress recently. Over the past several months, there have been multiple immigration bills introduced, debated, amended, and voted on in various committees and on the House and Senate floors. Some of these bills have focused on border security. Some have focused on asylum procedures. Some have addressed visa backlogs, employment-based immigration, and yes, some have included provisions that could theoretically affect green card holders in very specific circumstances. But here's what you need to understand. The vast majority of these bills have not become law. Many pass one chamber and die in the other. Many are symbolic votes. Many are messaging bills that legislators know will never become law, but want to vote on for political reasons. And even when a bill does pass both chambers, it often gets stuck in conference committee, where differences between the House and Senate versions must be reconciled, and that process can take weeks, months, or sometimes never happens at all. So, what specifically is the viral news referring to today? Based on the most recent legislative activity, there are a few possibilities. One possibility is that the House or Senate passed a bill related to immigration enforcement, border security, or visa reform that includes language about green card holders in very narrow circumstances, such as green card holders convicted of certain crimes, green card holders who obtained status through fraud, or green card holders who abandon their residence by living outside the United States for extended periods. Another possibility is that a budget bill or defense bill included immigration provisions as part of a larger package. Or, and this happens constantly, someone took a bill that passed a committee, not even the full House or Senate, and reported it as if it were already law. Let me be absolutely clear about something. As of today, December 2025, the fundamental rights and protections of lawful permanent residents, meaning green card holders, under US immigration law have not changed. If you are a green card holder, your status is still governed by the Immigration and Nationality Act, the same law that's been in place for decades with various amendments over time. You still have the right to live and work permanently in the United States. You still have the right to travel internationally with proper documentation. You still have the right to petition for certain family members. And you still have protections against removal from the United States unless you fall into very specific categories that have existed in law for many years. Now, what are those specific categories where a green card holder could face removal? This is not new. This has been the law for a very long time. A green card holder can be placed in removal proceedings if they are convicted of certain crimes, including aggravated felonies, crimes of moral turpitude under certain conditions, domestic violence, drug offenses, firearms offenses, and other serious crimes. A green card holder can also face removal if they obtained their green card through fraud or misrepresentation, if they become a public charge under certain very specific conditions, if they vote illegally in a US election, if they abandon their permanent residence by living outside the US for too long without a re-entry permit, or if they engage in certain national security-related activities. None of this is new. None of this changed this week. What sometimes happens is that Congress passes a bill that modifies the list of deportable offenses, changes the definitions of certain crimes, adjusts the waiver process, or increases enforcement priorities. For example, a bill might expand the definition of what counts as an aggravated felony, or it might remove certain discretionary waivers that previously allowed immigration judges to cancel removal in hardship cases. These are significant changes when they happen, but they usually affect people in very specific situations, not all green card holders across the board. So here's what you need to do right now. First, stop panicking based on headlines. Second, check whether any bill being discussed has actually been signed into law by the President. You can do this by visiting congress.gov, searching for the bill number, and looking at its status. If it says passed House, that means it still needs to pass the Senate. If it says passed Senate, it still needs to pass the House. If it says presented to President, it's waiting for signature. Only if it says became law with a public law number has anything actually changed. Third, if a law has been signed, read what it actually does. Most immigration bills are hundreds of pages long and affect very specific populations. Just because a bill relates to immigration does not mean it affects you personally. Fourth, if you are a green card holder and you have a criminal record, have ever been arrested, have any prior immigration violations, have spent significant time outside the United States, or have any concerns about your status, this is the time to consult with a licensed immigration attorney. Not a notario, not a visa consultant, not someone on social media claiming to be an expert, but a licensed attorney who is a member of a state bar and preferably a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. An attorney can review your specific situation, tell you whether any new legislation affects you, and advise you on steps to protect yourself, such as applying for naturalization if you're eligible, which would make you a US citizen and eliminate most of these concerns. Fifth, if you are a green card holder with no criminal history, no immigration violations, no fraud in your application, and you live in the United States and have not abandoned your residence, then in all likelihood, nothing about your status has changed or will change based on typical legislative activity. Your green card is still valid. You still have your rights. You do not need to rush to file anything. You do not need to panic. What you should do, however, is stay informed through reliable sources. Let's talk about where to get reliable information, because this is critical. The only official sources for US immigration law and policy are USCIS.gov, the official website of US Citizenship and Immigration Services, state.gov for visa information, ICE.gov for enforcement information, and CBP.gov for border and entry information. If you want to know your case status, you check the USCIS case status tracking system using your receipt number. If you want to know about new policies, you check the USCIS policy manual or the Federal Register, where all new regulations must be published. If you want to know about new laws, you check congress.gov. You do not rely on social media posts. You do not rely on viral videos. You do not rely on screenshots of alleged government documents that someone posted without a source. Now let's address some of the specific rumors that tend to spread whenever immigration legislation is in the news. Rumor 1: green card holders will be deported if they leave the country. False. Green card holders have always had the right to travel internationally. What is true is that if you stay outside the US for more than 6 months, you may face questions about whether you abandoned your residence. If you stay outside for more than 1 year without a re-entry permit, you will likely be found to have abandoned your residence. This is not new. This has been the rule for decades. If you need to travel outside the US for an extended period, apply for a re-entry permit before you leave. Rumor 2: USCIS is going to start randomly revoking green cards. False. USCIS cannot revoke a green card without cause and without due process. If USCIS believes a green card was obtained through fraud or that the holder is deportable, they must initiate removal proceedings in immigration court, where you have the right to a hearing, the right to present evidence, and the right to appeal. This process is governed by law and regulation, and it does not change based on one bill passing one chamber of Congress. Rumor 3: green card holders need to re-register or file a new application. False. Once you have a green card, you do not need to re-register unless your card is expiring, in which case you file Form I-90 to renew it, or unless USCIS sends you a specific notice requiring action. There is no general re-registration requirement for green card holders. If you receive any communication claiming you need to re-register, verify it directly with USCIS, because it could be a scam. Rumor 4: new laws will make it harder to renew your green card. Possibly, but unlikely. Green card renewal is generally a straightforward administrative process. You file Form I-90, submit your documents, pay the fee, and receive a new card. The only time renewal becomes complicated is if there's an issue with your status, such as a criminal conviction, abandonment of residence, or fraud. If new legislation tightens criminal grounds of deportability, that could affect some renewal cases, but it would not affect the vast majority of green card holders who have clean records. Rumor 5: green card holders will lose access to public benefits. This is more complicated. There have been multiple attempts over the years to restrict immigrant access to public benefits. Some states have their own rules. Federal law already restricts green card holder access to certain benefits during the first 5 years after obtaining status. New legislation could further restrict this, but any such restriction would need to go through the full legislative process, be signed by the President, and then be implemented through agency regulations, which takes time. If you currently receive benefits and are concerned, speak with a benefits counselor or immigration attorney. Now let's talk about what you should actually be doing if you're a green card holder. Number 1, keep your green card valid. If your card is expiring within 6 months, file Form I-90 to renew it. Do not let your card expire, because even though your status doesn't expire, an expired card can cause problems with employment verification, travel, and other situations where you need to prove your status. Number 2, If you're eligible for naturalization, seriously consider applying. To be eligible, you generally need to have been a green card holder for 5 years or 3 years. If you obtained your green card through marriage to a US citizen, you need to meet physical presence and continuous residence requirements. You need to be able to speak, read, and write basic English. You need to pass a civics test, and you need to be a person of good moral character, meaning no serious criminal history. Once you become a US citizen, you have the full protections of citizenship, you cannot be deported, and you have the right to vote and hold a US passport. If you're eligible, naturalization is the best protection against any future changes in immigration law. Number 3. Keep records of your travel outside the United States. Every time you leave and return, keep copies of your boarding passes, passport stamps, and entry records. If you're ever questioned about abandonment of residence, you'll need to prove how long you were gone and why. Number 4. Avoid any criminal activity, no matter how minor. Even a misdemeanor can trigger immigration consequences for green card holders. Do not drive under the influence. Do not get involved in domestic disputes that lead to arrest. Number 5. Do not vote in federal elections. This is a crime for non-citizens and will result in deportation. Some states and localities allow non-citizens to vote in certain local elections, but federal elections are absolutely off limits. If you're not sure, don't vote. Wait until you're a US citizen. Number 6. Keep your address updated with USCIS. Green card holders are required by law to report any change of address to USCIS within 10 days of moving. You can do this online at uscis.gov using Form AR11. Failure to do this is a violation of immigration law. Number 7. If you're arrested for any reason, immediately contact an immigration attorney. Do not speak to police or immigration officers without an attorney present. You have the right to remain silent. Use it. Tell them you want to speak to an attorney. Do not sign anything you don't understand. Many people have been tricked into signing voluntary departure forms or admitting to things that led to their deportation. Let me also address the Canada and UK connection briefly, because immigration news in one country often causes concern in others. If you're following IRCC updates for Canada or Home Office updates for the UK, understand that each country has its own immigration system, its own laws, and its own processes. A change in US law does not directly affect Canadian permanent residents or UK visa holders. However, policy trends do sometimes spread across countries, so it's worth staying informed about all 3 systems if you have ties to multiple countries. Finally, let me remind you that this video is for general educational purposes only. It is not personal legal advice. Immigration law is complex, and every person's situation is unique. If you have specific questions about your case, your status, your eligibility for benefits, or your risk of removal, you must consult with a licensed immigration attorney who can review your individual circumstances and give you advice tailored to your situation. So here's what you need to take away from this video. First, immigration law does not change overnight based on one vote in one chamber of Congress. Second, your green card rights and protections remain the same unless and until a bill becomes law. And even then, most legislation affects narrow categories of people, not all green card holders. Third, do not panic based on viral headlines or social media posts. Verify everything through official government sources. Fourth, if you have any concerns about your status, especially if you have a criminal history or complex immigration history, consult with a licensed immigration attorney. And fifth, if you're eligible for naturalization, consider applying, because citizenship is the ultimate protection. If you found this video helpful, if it gave you clarity and calmed your fears about what's really happening with immigration law, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now for global immigration updates, because this is the channel that will always tell you the truth, cut through the noise, and give you facts instead of fear. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Share this video with anyone in your community who might be scared or confused by the headlines they're seeing. And leave a comment below telling me what immigration topics you want me to cover next, what questions you have, or what concerns you're dealing with. I read every single comment, and your questions help me create content that serves this community. Remember, accurate information is power, and you deserve to know the truth about what's happening with your immigration status. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.